When it comes to culture either side of the Atlantic, no one does it better. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you USUK's What's the Difference podcast with Alex Whiteley and Tom Bruno. Hey guys, welcome to USUK's What's the Difference podcast. I'm your host, Alex Whiteley.
And I'm Tom Bruno.
And today we're bringing you a very special guest, a guest I cannot wait to introduce you to. I was perusing the internet at 3 o'clock in the morning, as most people do, looking for interesting people to talk to. And I came across Brian Graden here. We speak about culture. Okay, that is the biggest part of our show. And you will find no one on this planet that's added to culture internationally more than our guest, Mr. Brian Graden, co-creator of South Park and has ran MTV for 13 years. Brian, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
My privilege. Thank you.
Yeah. Tom, how have you been? You been good?
Yeah, man, been good, been tired. It's that time of the year, so everything's kind of like gearing towards Christmas. Kids' birthdays tomorrow, so I'm also somewhat focused on that. I feel like I take a lot on during the holidays because, you know, I want to feel like the guy that can do everything, but at the end of the day, I'm the guy who's just really exhausted.
Don't worry, honey, I'll deal with it. Yeah, no, that's like Brian. Obviously, we've been through this lockdown pandemic stuff that's been going on. For a guy that's as busy as yourself, working with TV and things, how's it been for you? Been locked away in our caves and what have you. You know, how's that been for you?
Probably the same emotional journey as for everyone. It's been wildly frustrating, but at some point you kind of learn just to lean into it, because what choice do you have? And to try to make good use of the time you get to have with your family or friends.
I think it's been a good time for me creatively. He says as he pours more rum into his Coke because he couldn't taste it. So I've been sat on my computer. I've been sat. I record podcasts like no man has ever recorded podcasts. I've recorded 9 today. This is the 9th one I've done today, because I just feel like I need to keep busy. I mean, I've been working throughout the whole pandemic. So it's not really affected me, but I feel like I need to find a purpose in the world, right? I need to do something with my time and there's a lot of people that's gone out there and learned new skills and things. Have you found yourself sort of trying to learn new skills and things during lockdown?
Yeah, my cooking is finally totally on point, and as are my piano skills. So those are the two things that have kept me sane and probably are better than pre-pandemic.
God, I wish I could play the piano.
So like classic, right?
Every time I walk by piano, I'm just like, one day I'll learn how to do more than Mary Had a Little Lamb, because everyone knows how to do that. That's like the go-to, right?
You walk past that piano at the train station or something, that one that's always set out for the public, and I just want to be that guy, or in a pub somewhere in the corner. There's always one, right? And it'd be good to just sit there and be like, and have loads of people flock around you, and you'd be the cool guy, you know.
That they do that in the UK too, huh? I thought that was. I live right next to New Hampshire, and we go to this nice little town called Littleton, and like along the side of the road, there's like 6 or 7 different like pianos that have been, you know, treated to be outside for long periods of time, and people just sit down and they play it all. I mean, you know, pre-pandemic. Now I'm not sure how many people want to touch things after other people, but it was really, really cool thing. So they do that over there as well.
Yeah, it's quite popular actually. There's this guy he looked like a bit of a chav, you know, big puffer jacket, a bit of a rough looking lad, and he sat down, he played the most beautiful music, and it was just one of those things you can't judge a book by its cover, you know. But anyway, we've got more pressing issues to talk about. Brian, you've had a fantastic career. You can read on IMDb, and you've worked with some of the biggest names in TV. But where did this all begin for you? Your illustrious career. What was the beginning point for you?
Yeah, probably the impetus was I grew up in like a small farm town in the middle of nowhere, and your only connection to people or culture was through in the 1970s, the TV. So I think that's where the love began. And then so after I went to Harvard Business School, and after that just decided I would get coffee for whoever I thought the smartest person was and work for free until they liked me. So that's kind of how it started.
the intern story, right? Where
Yeah.
you just seem to be around and it's like, oh, Brian's got some great ideas. Have you heard about Brian's ideas? No.
I find it very interesting because I feel like that's also something that I can agree with. I'm being from Vermont and growing up in, upstate New York and Vermont. There isn't a lot in the way of like things to do. Like we always had to make fun. And I always have felt more connected to television and movies than anything else because it was a real nice way to escape from such a small little place and be a part of something so much bigger, something so much grander.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of the same. I mean, where I grew up was kind of a hybrid town, really. It was like there was a little bit of business and this sort of stuff about, but it was video games, TV. Blockbuster night was the best. Friday nights where you go and hire out a movie and get the sweets and the Skittles and the popcorn and watch Ace Ventura or some crazy stuff on the, it was great. What was the idea that sort of propelled you into where you are today, Brian?
I'm kind of embarrassed of this, but I came up with a game show called Studs, where two guys would date the same three women, and then the women would come back and compare notes on who the bigger stud or who the bigger cheese ball was. And that was my first show, and it was like a huge hit in the U.S. for 4 or 5 years. And then I thought, oh, TV's easy, and then my next 10 flopped, and I realized it wasn't so easy.
They did something similar to that over here in the UK. It was Davina McCall who used to do Big Brother over here. She did this dating show. It was a bit like a pageant queen sort of thing, but like with scandalous, sort of, scantily dressed women and guys, and they do like they're sort of I don't know, like a catwalk with like thongs on and stuff, and they do dancing. And there's this one guy, apparently, she talked about it. I think it was on like Graham Norton or something like that. And she was like, he was doing this dance, and he bent over and touched his toes, but there was a little bit of on his bum. There was a bit of. And it was like one of the most embarrassing moments on TV. Yeah, can you imagine like the awkwardness? Yeah, that's so funny. So Studs, I mean, do you know about that, Tom? Is that something you're aware of?
No,
I mean,
it sounds like I remember there being a show on MTV that was like something along those lines. Like some girl would go take guys off of a truck or something like that, and they date with her until she's like, no, thank you. And then all of a sudden they'd be sent back to the thing. And it wasn't even the show that was great. It was the reaction from every guy on the bus that was waiting to go next in line, because every time they'd be like, oh man, and they would just kind of like slap hands, and the next guy would be like, yeah, I'm totally got this in the bag, bro, and he'd walk off and inevitably fuck up the whole situation. It was a good time.
You just nailed the title, because that show was actually called Next, and that was one of mine at MTV. And quickly realized that the best, most entertaining part of the show was the guys on the bus dishing on the guy who just got dissed. And so we just mostly favored that and showed a little bit of bait, and it was a big smash for like 5 years.
See, I am your public, good sir. I am your public. All that stuff. I looked at your IMDb. I was like, oh, I watched that and that. Oh, and that. You really created MTV in the greatness of MTV. There's like a couple generations of that, right? There's MTV when it first started. It was like big, revolutionary. They play music all day, music videos. And then eventually it became what you created, which was MTV the shows. Like there was, like the Real World and the Jersey
Osbournes.
Shore, the Osbourne. Oh my God, the Osbourne started.
Jordan!
And that was yours as well, right?
It was, yeah, absolutely. And that was probably our most successful show in the UK that we exported, I think, ever.
Well, he's a Brit. I mean, we're always going to gravitate to our own, I guess. I don't know, but he's Ozzy Osbourne. What was it like working, like, I'll say controlling, not Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, like, you got to just push him into the room, just do stuff, Ozzy. We'll record it. What was that like for you guys?
That was back in the days when we had enough money that you could just shoot as much footage as you wanted for an episode. And so we really didn't push them to do much of anything. Swear to God, this was one of those less produced shows where they would just start throwing a ham over their neighbor's fence, and we would just catch it. We literally produced almost none of that show compared to other shows which we produced the hell out of.
I really liked sort of Kelly Osbourne's story, and this is a weird thing to say, right? Because I remember going to a V festival one year, and she was gonna go and sing, and this festival was done over two sort of venues. So she went to the first venue, And then the next day she was going to come to the venue I was at. Now she didn't turn up because she got food thrown at her and booed and really badly treated by the crowd. And I remember there being like a hostile sort of environment around her all the time. But what she did with that, instead of like disappearing and kind of crying about things, she did a show on BBC Radio 1, I do believe, late night show, where she would talk about social justice issues, PSA sort of, topics and sexual health and things like that. And I was like, that was brilliant. That was like, I've been there, I've seen it, I've felt this pain that you're feeling right now. Let's talk about it. And I thought that was really powerful. Like, well, good on you, Kelly. Like, you know,
we're actually working on a project with both Jack and Kelly now, all these years later.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I like who they've become. I feel that it's very I think it's very, very interesting that people start off as one thing. Like the Osbournes started off as one thing. Of course, you know, Ozzy started as one thing, then became something else. And now that his children are grown up, they've become something else and all by themselves. Like Kim Kardashian, she started off as one thing. And the correlation is just the fact these people turn into different people. People grow. Go figure. It's so weird. But she was known for one thing, and now she's like this person that's just constantly trying to help other people. It's very cool how people evolve throughout their life.
Yes, absolutely.
Where did the idea of Jersey Shore come from? Was this a guy that was out on a night out and was like, dude, we need to get a camera on this? Like, this is just crazy. Like, he's sat in a bar, he's just seen these idiots everywhere doing shots off bodies and, you know, doing crazy stuff. Where did that come from?
You know, that is one of the rare shows where we actually did 4 different pilots, if you can believe it. And the concept started as America's Next Top Guido. And it was supposed to be a competition to figure out who was the Guido, yes, whatever that would be. But after we did the pilot, we're like, I don't know what that actually means to be the best Guido. It's not like being the best model or the best chef. And so, but we liked some of the casting. So we did a second and a third take. And finally, we decided to get out of the way and just turn the cameras on them because they were that good. And it was that guy, The Situation, who really sold it through.
He was on Big Brother in the UK. The Situation. Yeah. Interesting. Does it with a show like that, does it ever get to a point where it's really hard to sort of manage that? Because I imagine with those egos and with that kind of energy, it'd be very easy to sort of get ahead of yourself and think you're bigger than the game itself. You know, is it hard to sort of manage that?
Absolutely. It's totally case by case. But what you were saying earlier about growing, some people grow crazier with the fame, and some people realize they have influence and they grow more seasoned or mature with it.
Yeah, I think that's what we saw with the Kardashians, you know, with the branding and the makeup and the perfumes and stuff. Yeah, Tom?
I was gonna say, when it comes to a show like Jersey Shore, where everyone has such a big personality, how hard is it to kind of keep the focus? Like, obviously, there's a goal of whatever episode the show might be. It might be to get from this point to this point and kind of tell like a story in between. How hard is it to keep that focused on where you're trying to go and not just let it get, you know, chaos all around you with that type of person or people?
Shows we did like Laguna Beach or The Hills, those people were all, you know, pretty prim and proper, and they wanted to know what they should do in a scene, and they wanted to know what their lines were and all of that. The Jersey Shore kids, you don't really try, because they're going to go out and they're going to do shots and do what they're going to do, and that's enough so you get out of the way. It's like different with every group.
I could just imagine that's just. I was chatting to Jamie Westwood, who's one of our co-hosts. He hosts the USUK Chronicles, and he was speaking to a band called Slay Dougie, and they're a metal group. What they do is they take kids' songs and sing them as metal covers. It's actually really brilliant. And these guys, I listened to that episode back, and they barely got a word in edgeways. And Jamie was like, "What do you do when you got someone that just won't stop talking?" And I was like, "Just hit record and enjoy it." They do the job for you. Like, that is what people listen to. Like, they had this list full of questions and they couldn't get any questions out. And at first it was like Jamie that was kind of like, they were very polite guys and they're very good at what they do. But Jamie's kind of like, and you can hear the breaths. And then it was TS, the co-host, that was doing that. So with Jersey, when you got someone like Jersey Shore and the Osbournes, I guess, that have they just, you know, do their thing, and it's just magic every time you turn on the camera. It must make your jobs a lot easier, right?
Yeah, the hardest part of Jersey Shore was not getting them to do great things on camera. It was getting it on TV in the first place, because you can imagine virtually everyone at MTV had their sort of, you know, arms crossed and said, no way, we're not putting that on television. And the Italian American League came after us and et cetera. But by week 2, it was the biggest thing we'd ever had, and everybody forgets all the arguments against it.
What a stupid thing. I feel like anything that shines a light on a culture is a good thing. I mean, it doesn't just because these people happen to be outrageous doesn't mean it's bad. It just means they're outrageous. It's their life, and that's why people watch because it's interesting.
Yeah. And to your point, a lot of the cast of Jersey Shore actually grew up to be good mothers or other things. It's still crazy, but they season 2.
Yeah.
And another thing, you did 16 and Pregnant, right? That was yours as well. I mean, virtually everything was yours. And that was the thing that Alex doesn't over exaggerate, but he tells me things. He'd be like, "Hey Tom, so this is the person that's coming on. This is who we're talking to." I'm like, "Oh, cool. He did this." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And this. Oh, and this, and this. And I'm like, when the fuck does the list stop? It's going for like 5 minutes now. I'm like, I've virtually seen everything you're talking about. Who is this magical creature that you're bringing on the show?
Thank you for that.
But how do you get to the position of deciding what goes on MTV and what doesn't? I mean, what was the projection there? I mean, okay, I'm talking about South Park. Okay, this is going to be the catalyst for everything because you're the co-creator of South Park, and I've got to say, right, this is one of the. I didn't have to pitch you at all, Brian, but I was like, okay, this is one of the reasons why I want to get Brian on, because somebody took South Park and went, this is an amazing idea. When we all know what South Park is, we all know what South Park looks like, and from an outsider perspective, maybe from a TV executive position, you look at South Park and you go, no, we can't do that. That's a hell of a brave decision, Brian.
Yeah, it's funny. South Park, it took us like a year to do the pilot, and I'll never forget. We went to the focus group, which is where then 24 average people watched the pilot for the first time, and it got the lowest rating from that group of people that I'd ever seen and have ever seen since. Something like a 1.5 out of 10 was the rating. We made 3 women cry because they thought it was so inappropriate. The entire focus group was just like people calling us the devil. And so on the way home, Matt and Trey had never been through this before. And they're like, well, how do we do? And I didn't really have the heart to say it wasn't the best focus group I've ever seen. And I thought for sure it would never be on TV. And then Trey had this idea to get these check minus t-shirts, which is what you got in grade school if you didn't do well, check minus. And we wore them to our next meeting at Comedy Central. And I don't know if they got a kick out of the t-shirt or whatever, but they were actually the brave network. I was producing that show that said yes to putting it on.
Now,
Amazing.
Reading up on the history of it, South Park was kind of like this underground VHS tape that was like passed around between all the people in Hollywood. Is that really the roots of it, or is it being over exaggerated about that?
No, that's absolutely the story. I had seen a film of Matt and Trey's when they were just students about cannibalism, a musical about cannibalism, like one does. And I loved it so much that I just started giving them projects, and we developed a couple pilots, and nothing went anywhere. And so they were always out of money. So one Christmas they needed rent money. So I just made up an excuse and I said, "Oh, let's do a video Christmas card." And I had seen what was kind of the precursor to South Park, something Trey had done as a student film. And so then they came back like 4 days later with the classic Christmas card. And I was intending to send it out to like 500 contacts in the business. But I looked at it and said, no, we're going to bring that list down to about 30 friends who will get it. And then I never thought about it again. I didn't dream it would become something. Went on vacation for Christmas, came back, and agents kept trying to show me this Christmas card. And by then they wouldn't believe I had anything to do with it. And so that's kind of how it happened. Like it just happened organically. So then we were able to sell it. But we only got one offer. Everybody thought it was a one-note joke and would never go anywhere.
Wow, who's laughing now? Matt Stone and Trey Parker are they are some of the finest writers and creators in TV, because we talk about South Park quite a bit, and I always talk about, they make some ludicrous jokes and they make some they create some terrible situations, but there's always a deeper meaning behind the, if you unravel those episodes, there's like they always go after social justice and things that are going wrong with the world, and I love that so much that that show just doesn't make great content. It sticks it to the man in a huge scale. And that's, like I said, that's continuing on that bravery of even releasing show in the first place. Now, the first few seasons, what was that like? What was the feedback like when you first released the official seasons?
I remember thinking there was almost no marketing campaign, and Comedy Central in the US was a little throwaway cable channel. They just happened to be the only one who would give us money to make it. So we weren't expecting anything. And the week one number was 6.1 million people, which was huge in the US for cable. and we couldn't figure out why. And it had turned out that between the time the Christmas card was released and the season started, these T1 lines, these super internet lines, went into colleges for the first time. So all these college kids were gathering in the library and watching this thing, and so it had its own marketing campaign, and none of us had a clue.
I think it's got something to do with like just kids shouting, "Oh my God, you killed Kenny, you bastard!" Or having kids acting like this and being so violent and all this sort of stuff. I think that's probably one of the things that shocked people the most. Is that I mean, I see everything that goes on in South Park as a metaphor, right? That's what I look at it. I'm like, this isn't a story about these 4 kids or these 5 kids. This is a story that's being told, right, through this giant metaphor. I didn't think that at the time. I was young and I thought, this is the greatest shit ever. There's a singing Christmas poo. It was just amazing. I'm sure that's my demographic, right? That's the demographic for South Park right there, is people that were my age that were buying the box sets, crowding around with their friends going, man, this is the coolest shit you'll ever see. Watch this stuff, I used to stay up late. My mom used to be like, "You're at bedtime," and I'd be like, "No. I'm gonna watch South Park first."
Your mom lets you talk to her that way? I'm sorry, Brandon. Please go.
No problem at all. I was adamantly against Mr. Hanky, and that turned out to be the stupidest decision on my part. But Trey was like, "Oh no, got to be a singing Christmas poo," and that's now the number 2 merchandise after Cartman. So I was completely wrong on that one.
I mean, but how could you? Thing is, you're not wrong. Still, it's still ludicrous, and it should have never worked. But the thing is, it's just so over the top that it plays. It's amazing the things that they can get away with. And my favorite thing about South Park and Matt and Trey is that they did they did it before Seth MacFarlane, but they did the same thing that Seth MacFarlane ended up doing, which is tricking a whole bunch of guys like bros to love musicals, which is
Yes.
Like me growing up with my sisters, I've been into, my mom's very big into musicals. I always knew musicals. So when I heard South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, or saw it for the first time, I was like, this is a fucking Broadway musical. And everybody's just singing along with it and they're loving it. This is amazing to me.
Yes. Trey had a dream of doing a musical since the day I met him, 20 years before Book of Mormon.
I've yet to see Book of Mormon. I need to see this. I'm one of these guys. I don't have an awful lot of money, and when something's usually out, it's usually when I'm broke in between paydays or something. But the Book of Mormon for me, soon as this COVID bollocks has gone out the way, that's one of the things I really want to see is Book of Mormon. It just looks amazing. Yeah.
I always end up catching the stuff late. I'm always just off the pulse of what's really good and funny. I didn't realize how great Hamilton was going to be until it was shoved in my face on Disney Plus. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. I can't believe I didn't see this entire time.
Still haven't watched it.
It's phenomenal.
He's like, that's my culture, man. You need to watch it. I'm like,
it is. I just want to rub your face and be like, look how great America is, Alex. Look what you gave away. But the one thing I almost had a chance to see, and me and my wife, we were sweethearts in high school and stuff, and we were in New York City together, and Will Ferrell was doing his Broadway show, You're Welcome, America. And we were there. It was the first run of it, and we were like, "Oh, we should definitely go see this." We didn't even know really what it was. We know that Will Ferrell was in it, and we're like, "Oh, we don't have a lot of time." Blah blah. All right, let's just skip it this time. And then we saw it on HBO a few months later when they released it on that. And I was like, "Motherfucker!" I'm like, we could have seen that up close. That was phenomenal.
That was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to South Park, okay, you guys have really tested the water, really. And there's been a few situations where we all thought it was just going to be done, it's going to be killed off, especially with the Tom Cruise stuff. How did you guys approach that? Because obviously was it true that he was going to try and sue you guys, or he's going to try and get it removed off the air, in the closet thing?
Yeah, he had a big overall deal with Paramount Films, and Paramount owned Comedy Central. So it all flowed up to Sumner Redstone, the guy that owned everything. And so Tom Cruise threw a fit, however surreptitiously, but it didn't really have too much impact.
Wow. They certainly made big noise about it, because I remember it. And I watched it back recently because South Park was one of those things I kind of enjoyed when I was younger. Went away, became a dad, had responsibilities, kind of, I still watch stuff late at night like everyone else does, but I was kind of like, South Park, I'll catch up with that. And I've caught up, and I watched it recently, and I was like, I can see why. I can see why, especially with things he's involved with, blah 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 blah. But no, yeah, Tom.
No, I was actually gonna bring it back to Brian for a quick second.
Please do.
So
Dig a hole deeper.
I don't worry, man. I got a shovel for you and a ladder. I'm your friend. I love you. Okay, so when it comes to creating an entire genre, essentially on MTV, what's the thought on that? Because it's kind of blown up, right? Like now everybody has their own version of all these shows that you really put in the groundwork for. Do you look at other shows on other networks and go, oh, I can see how that would translate to that? Or you're like, motherfucker, mine was way better, because they were.
TV obviously is an imitation medium to some degree, so I kind of consider it flattering, to be honest. But the challenge is just to try to challenge yourself to always figure out what is next, when it would be so much easier for me to go out and sell exactly what is being made today. That's the hard part.
What do you think is next? Like, we have so many things going on right now. There's so many different types of game shows and reality shows and everything else that comes along the way. What do you think is next for TV? What is the next big thing, if you were to take a guess?
What I always look for is, what are people saying is dead? Because when, before Cosby, the sitcom was dead, nobody wanted it. Right now there's game shows everywhere. So people are saying the big game show is dead. So it's probably a good time to do a game show. So I'm always looking for what people think is going to be, be yesterday's news, and then try to do something that would be the revolution in that particular genre.
We spoke to Mark Summers a while ago on the show. We had him on, and we were talking about, obviously Mark Summers is like the game show king. He's been there, he's done it, and he's a legend. And we were talking about sort of YouTube and influencers, schmucks like us, guys that are like, just pick up a microphone and look, we're famous. We've got like 12 followers. No, right. But
it's 13, Alex. Get off the camera, man.
My kid watches this thing called FGTV, right? FGTV Duddy, right? This thing on, he plays video games, he raps, he does all this thing. And I wanted to get him on the show. I was kind of like, I'll just drop him a message, and never heard back of him. Dropped him another message, never heard. And I was like, why am I not hearing off this guy? And I went down and I looked at his total downloads, and it's something like 14.8 billion people had watched his stuff. And I was like, no wonder he is not getting back to me, because this is where things are going, right? This YouTube is like taking over.
Completely. And we do a lot of, my company now does a lot of a long form series for YouTube. Our last one was with James Charles, if you know that guy who does the makeup tutorials. But what's crazy is, they're multi-millionaires by the time they're 19, and then a TV network comes along and tries to tell them what to do, but they've had their own network since they were 5. So they can't fathom that someone else would have anything to say about their art. So it's been a really interesting kind of clash of cultures.
So in one way, it's really, cool that people are really taking control of their content and their art. But on the same side, it's really taking away from the television that I knew as a kid, which is probably what confuses me the most, is that it's not structured, built television. I'm not turning something on like that is pre-programmed and it was made for me. It's made by these people that, just want to do them, and that's all they want to do. And they just whoever happens to follow along follows along. It's I feel old sometimes when I'm sitting there going like, I don't understand this. What is this? What is going on? I look like my dad. It's crazy. I am my dad.
What's fascinating is they all create characters that almost have a faux intimacy. So you think you're their best friend, but that's also a cultivated character they're putting forward.
Are you saying that everybody's essentially Pee Wee Herman now? Is that what you're saying, Brian? Because that sounds. Everyone's just playing in a playhouse and like, "I zombie." And it's all right, I guess. And makeup. I don't know.
I think we were unlucky to sort of get there at this stage in our lives. I mean, if we were younger, and had the energy to keep up with some of these guys like Logan Paul and things like this, maybe we could have stood a chance. I mean, like, all we've got now is just sitting there drinking booze and talking about video games and Star Wars and shit. I mean, like, but what we can do is we can go back and appreciate the things that we enjoyed when we were younger. And this is what Tom's getting at, is that things were different back then. And there's a lot of there's a lot of reaching out to nostalgia, especially when you look at things like, I don't know, The Mandalorian, for example. The last season of Mandalorian, what Favreau did is he went out and he touched people in the nostalgia. He was kind of like, here's a bit of this, and here's Django, all these things. And like, that's where things are going. That's fan service. When it comes to MTV, where is that at the moment? Because obviously things change. You guys are hitting a demographic that is part of this YouTube culture. Where does it go now?
You know, it's interesting. MTV over the last few years has actually aged up by about a decade in the US because they just couldn't compete for teenage eyeballs. It didn't work anymore because they're all on YouTube. So the average age of MTV viewers in the US is now like 32 or 33 or something like that. So it's a very different channel than the one even the three of us remember.
Do you think it's the name that really kind of drives people back to it? Like if it was a different, let's just call it like CTV, or whatever. It's CTV, same exact content, same exact everything, but just with that name, I don't think it would draw the people in anymore. I think it's really the name and like the nostalgia of MTV itself that really kind of like, oh, it's my MTV and I'm gonna go watch MTV because this is mine. This is what it is. Otherwise, we'd all just be watching YouTube like our kids do.
I remember being like 15 and going to my friend Brad's house, and he had the world's first giant 30-foot satellite in their backyard. And so we watched MTV for the first time, and we couldn't believe there was something that was meant just for us playing the music we listened to. Like that, now that's a given. But back then, that was a radical idea.
That Jackass out of Small Soldiers. Have you seen my satellite in the garden? It's so big, right? That's a weird pull. I don't know where I got that.
How dare you say anything about him? Don't you fucking dare. That I'm blanking on his name, even though I just watched Jingle All the Way the other day. Phil Hartman, how dare you say anything about Phil Hartman?
Not about him. I mean, that's the character he played.
I feel like you're bashing Phil Hartman right now. I can't continue the show.
He played
any
the same
longer.
guy in Jingle All the Way, though, didn't he? He was kind of like, I'm so gonna enjoy banging your wife, or whatever he says. Like,
he did not say that. It's a holiday movie. I am so sorry, Brian. He is speaking ill of our American icons. I will not have this on my show.
This is America. Not here, it ain't. This is why it's USUK.
I feel like we're pirate radio, and this is why we do it so far away, so we don't come to like fists every episode. We're like, oh, what'd you say about this?
When it comes to culture, we're always interested in sort of how things hit internationally. Of course, MTV was huge in the States. Like you said, your opening figures were just phenomenal, right? What was it like transporting that around the world? Was there anywhere difficult that was kind of like, nah, we're not having this, mate? Sorry.
Yeah, it's funny. Some shows like Real World, which is a giant iconic hit in the US for 20 plus years, did not travel at all because nobody in other countries really cared about the mores or the drinking habits of American kids. The biggest success we ever had around the world, and I still can't explain it, was Pimp My Ride. Do you remember that show?
Of course.
Pimp My Ride, yeah. Because it was, what was his name from the UK that did it? Oh, God, Tim Westwood. Tim Westwood, yo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's
Records.
Right. Yeah. Jamie Westwood always bragged on him. Go ahead, please, Brian. I'm sorry.
No, that show was just a modest hit. No, not a problem. That show was really a modest hit in the US. Like, it was a nice B player, but around the world, it's the biggest thing we ever had.
I wondered, why is that? Like, what about that show translates so well to other cultures?
The only thing I could figure is the West Coast car culture, or car culture is a rather unique thing to the US. Everybody has cars, but we have kind of car culture. That's the only thing I could figure. And it was also about the time that West Coast hip hop had really exploded. And it might have been the marriage of those things, but I really can't explain it.
It's funny that you mentioned car culture because that is so very, very true. It's so uniquely American. When me and Alex were talking about travel, I think this is what really started the whole what's the difference conversation was he was complaining about having to go somewhere, which was like an hour away. He's like, oh, man, I got to go take.
It was
no, please.
It was a Comic-Con in London, right? What had happened was I was meant to go on the train. Somebody had been injured on the train track, so all the trains got cancelled. And I was like, oh, it was 3:00 in the morning. I didn't want to get up and drive for like 4 hours to London. And Tom was like, I pissed 4 hours. What are you on about? Like something like that. And I was just like, it's 4 hours. And he's like, that's nothing to us in America. There you go. That's what.
That is true.
We have this like romanticized view of like hopping in the car, and once again I'm going to speak old language here, popping in a CD or a cassette and just jamming down the highway, just kind of being like, yeah, all right, you know what, it's all about the journey. It's
Alabama.
No, that's not the case. Stop that. For me it was Beach Boys, but fuck you. So it's all about like the journey. It's not about the destination, but for you guys it's all about the destination and not the journey. Because of the small cars. I bet you it's just because you guys all drive like Fiats and stuff. If you drove like a Cadillac, a topless Cadillac down the highway, you'd be like, oh, I understand now.
It's because we live in a beautiful country with lots of scenery and great monuments and old buildings and that. I don't know. No, it is a strange culture. I mean, you guys have built like really straight roads that you can just stick on the cruise control, sit back and relax and try not to fall asleep, I guess. But the car culture is different though. I mean, here, boy racers and people that will soup up cars and stuff, they'll stick to their little Citroen Saxos and their Vauxhall Corsas and things like that. Whereas in America, you've got like your Dodge Chargers and your big beastie cars, and there is a difference. But at the same time, it's boys and their toys, right? That's the thing. That's what you're trying to sell. Yeah.
So you did in fact say boy races a couple minutes ago. I thought I misheard you when you said boy races. I'm like, we race boys in America? No, they don't. We do not call Brian, when was the last time you looked at your friend and said, hey, let's go to the boy races?
No, that would have a more sinister connotation here, I think.
Yeah.
I know, right? It sounds like it's a bunch of jockeys on younger men just whipping them and shit. I don't think that's what we do.
Is that the Wolf of Wall Street? What about we spoke to Darren Miller from CKY a few couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about Jackass culture and the skating thing that was very much a part of MTV when you I guess you were there. Yeah. Was that a sort of an easy thing to market back then, or was that something you were part of?
Jackass was the hardest show to get, and one that I chased for like 3 years. I'd seen an original like bootleg video of Johnny Knoxville getting shot in the chest with a bulletproof vest on. And that's all I saw. But what I responded to is, after that, you think they'd be all traumatized. They were laughing their asses off. And you could tell that their camaraderie and their energy around it was completely pure. And they weren't doing this just for camera. I don't think they thought anybody would ever see this. And indeed, they didn't want to be on TV. It took like 3 years and Spike Jonze finally getting involved before they said, okay, we'll try this.
Wow. So you really have an eye for the abnormal that ends up being just these colossal hits, because Jackass in that era of MTV was just the biggest thing ever. Every kid my age was pushing each other around in shopping carts, crashing into stuff and jumping off of buildings, trying to be as fun or as funny as these guys that we idolize. That's so crazy. What about you? Like, what about you? Is able to take that risk? Like, you see something like, obviously you've established yourself at this point, but what about you really kind of like, what trait can you tell me that you have that makes you make these great decisions? I don't know how to speak anymore. It's too late, I guess. Too much chicken.
You know what it is? I think it's like, how the Osbournes were completely crazy, but at their core, they really were a great family. And they really had love, and they're really still together. And so I think sometimes the most subversive thing you can do is come up with a package that is just outrageous and pushes people's buttons, but then has some of their message in it that you either believe in or will mess with people's heads. And I think that's a great way to make change, especially for more marginalized people. That's what I enjoy.
I see lots of, like, it's not even subliminal messaging. It's very deeply hidden messages, and a lot of that era of TV. So you were talking about the camaraderie with Jackass. That's a very appealing thing to young guys. These friends, they may do stupid stuff to each other, but they're mates, right? And they hang around, they have fun together. South Park is the shock and awe, but here's a story we're going to tell you. The Osbournes is a family. It's a dysfunctional family, but it's a family nonetheless. And there seems to be this deep-rooted sort of this is America, or this is life. Sort of message. The
Osbournes was at a time when here in America, if you remember, George Bush was preaching family values, and he had a very strict, very white definition of what that meant. And that's, I think, what attracted me to the Osbournes, because he could challenge the definition of a family because they were equally loving.
Yeah,
it's so crazy to think back now and look at George Bush and be like, that was the sane guy right there. That was a president we can really look up to. But if you were to talk about him back in the day, you'd be like, but that crazy guy that thought we won the war like 4 years before we did? What the fuck are you talking about? I guess it's all,
it's all you go in politics this time. It's usually me, and then you usually tell me to quickly.
By the way,
let's not do that.
I like how your arm keeps disappearing. Like,
I know, yeah. I love the screen because you can't see. I'm moving house, Brian, so I've got boxes and stuff behind me. So I've got this background to hide all the mess. But every time I move, I do look like a dissonant pit. Look at that. Ooh, hey. It's very trippy. I've got a couple of questions I threw out to our USUK hosts and in the group here. And Jamie Westwood from USUK Chronicles, who I mentioned earlier, he's asked, it's a bit late on in the show to be asking it because I think you kind of brushed on it quickly, but he said, can you remember how South Park was pitched? Because let's be honest, it's one of the most unique shows, and based off that, did he expect it to have the success it had? I guess what Jamie's asking is, did you play a tape in front of a boardroom and then just witness that silence of, what the fuck is this?
No, anybody who tells you they thought that would be a big hit, I couldn't get people to return our calls during that year we were making it to get writers. Like agents were like, we want nothing to do with that, and it's for Comedy Central. Who gives a fuck? So it was really, no, none of us thought it would be what it is. It seems clear in retrospect, but anybody who tells you they know you have a giant hit on the front side is, full of it.
And then there's one more. He says, what are your thoughts on the change of MTV going from music TV to now basically a reality TV show channel? I think I've got the answer to this in my head. I'm going to let you go first, and then I'll weigh in afterwards, I reckon.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I when I took the job at MTV, I thought, this is great. I'm just going to go and pick a bunch of music videos. That must be the job. And then I got there and realized that the one show we had, Real World, was being watched by about 20 times as many people in its half hour than music videos. And it was also just the time when music videos were starting to move online. So you could watch whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted. So nobody was going to sit and watch a radio station and wait for their music video to come up 2 hours from now. So it was kind of a sad realization that I was going to have to do a different kind of job than I'd signed up for. And so what we always tried to do is find things that had some element of music, like TRL, in it, but was still compelling television.
But like MTV expanded into loads of different channels, didn't it? And this is what I was going to add into it, was like you had MTV and you had MTV MTV Hits, MTV2, you had VH1, VH1 2, you had MTV Base, was it? Or
Base with Jams, we had Trace, Latin.
Yeah, so you had your place to watch the Osbournes, but then I mean the art of podcasting, right? The conversational show, having these great conversation, is something I took a long time ago from Zane Lowe on MTV2, because he would sit around the table and they would just talk, and I'd be like, this isn't what I wanted. I wanted to watch Nirvana videos over and over and over again, but this is actually quite it's quite nice. I like it. Yeah.
Was there ever something that went through MTV that you either thought would not work or was just too outlandish, but then you end up seeing pop up on a different network and end up being a pretty big success?
Far too often. The one I always remember is Heidi Klum came in with Harvey Weinstein to pitch Project Runway. And this is before there was a thing at reality competition. And I wasn't getting why watching people sew would be interesting. And then Heidi at one point goes, "You're not getting it. Episode 5, water falls on suede." Drama. I'm never buying this show. That's not drama. And I was completely wrong. So yeah, I have many of those.
Amazing.
They've been the biggest like shows that I've just like, I'm like, why do people watch this stuff? Like Strictly Come Dancing, or Dancing on Ice, or over here in the UK, of course. Then there's the British Bake Off. That's a massive show. That's huge. That's a universally loved show, and I'm just like, why? But that's not my thing. I guess.
Because they are doing one of the most complex things you can do in the kitchen, and they're just being so charmingly nice about everything. That's really what people, because like everything else is, if this was an American cooking show, with the exception of some of Gordon Ramsay's stuff, it would be, get the fuck out of my way, my roast is important. Oh my god, I've had the oven too long. But it's just like, oh, excuse me, can I borrow some of that sugar? Oh no, I dropped an egg, here's one. And they hand it off and stuff. It's all really charmingly nice. It's such a polar opposite from what we're used to, that it works.
And then the most bizarre thing was it took Noel Fielding, who was one of the most out there comedians in the UK. He's been in a few things. If you watch the IT Crowd, he was the goth in the IT Crowd. Okay. Never mind the Buzzcocks. He was very out there, and he would just say it, right. He was unfiltered almost. And then they give him a woolly jumper, and they're like, straighten your hair and go do British Bake Off. And now he's like, hello and welcome to British Bake Off. And I'm like, this is weird. This is a Twilight Zone right here. It's very crazy. Is there something that's out on TV now that is a massive hit that you really wanted for MTV and you just couldn't get?
This actually goes back a ways, but it's a big hit again. But I really wanted Queer Eye for VH1, and it's hard to overestimate. That was a radical concept at the time, but we were music channels, and I just couldn't figure out how Queer Eye fit on VH1. That's what I was looking at it for. But I wish in retrospect that we'd have done that one.
Yeah,
I love Queer Eye. It's so good. I remember watching it for the first time. I was in work. It was very quiet. I was kind of like, let's just see what this is like. And I just watched these guys just burst into this guy's apartment or house or whatever, and they were just going. It's just chaos everywhere. They're like, "Oh my god, what's this?" And "Oh my god, what's this? Oh my god, in this bathroom, he's got hairs on his soap. Oh my god, what's going on here? Look at his socks. He got holes in them." And I'm just like, could you just imagine someone doing that in your life and just coming in and just turning everything upside down? It was just amazing.
Alex, this is why you should have grown up with a gay older sister, because I had Queer Eye around me all the time, which was hilariously funny. Like, if you want like the best Thanksgiving in the world, fight over some really catty gay dudes, and they just will tell you the worst things and the funniest things, and they will just make you laugh the entire fucking time you try to eat through the turkey. They're the best. They really are. Like, no wonder people idolize the gay community, because they're having the best time of their lives, and we're all a bunch of assholes.
Absolutely. I remember one of the most embarrassing moments in a nightclub for me. We used to go out. I used to work at Tesco years ago, and we used to go out for a few drinks on a Friday night, and we'd all get together. And there's this guy, Nick, right? Nick was very camp, very metrosexual, I'd say now. But he was very camp, and we sat drinking, and I had two girls on my lap, right? I don't know why. It was just happened. They were mates. They sat on my lap, and I was like, if only, Nick, if only. And he was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well, you're gay, aren't you?" He goes, "Dude, I have had more pussy than you've had roast dinners. I can't believe you just do that to me right now." He went absolutely ballistic at me. And I was like, "I am so sorry." Yeah, that was so embarrassing. And there's like a table of us, the full table surrounded of all. And the girls got off my lap. I walked away very purple faced. It was very, very funny.
How dare you assume anything?
RuPaul is a show I greenlit and developed. I'm, I think, probably proudest of that one, just because it has done so much for acceptance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I like RuPaul. I think he's great. I think he's a very brave guy. And the show, I was, so I'm an actor in a prison over here, and I was playing a cross-dresser for a year. I had the beard, and I had the accent, and I had the role of an ex-drag queen TV star that had been put in prison. And so I had to learn how to be a drag queen, because I didn't want to offend anybody, right? Because I'm a straight guy playing a drag queen. And so I watched RuPaul, and it was nothing of what I wanted to learn, but I just got hooked on it and watched the whole thing.
First of all, I think that like a lot of straight men are still drag queens. There's plenty of men out there that are straight that do it. But Alex, at this point, you are in fact a drag queen. If you do it once, that just makes that's fine. You're allowed to be one. I support you being a drag queen, but you can't say that you play a drag queen. Ever so often, you are flat out a drag queen.
I love it.
You've done it like 5 times now, which just I feel like you should be putting Cher on. This morning, I was listening to Gypsy by Cher. And that's what you should be doing every morning, man. You should be trying to like express yourself, my friend.
I do miss that character. It gave me the license to go absolute batshit crazy at people. It was so fun. Like, they just walk into my cell, because obviously it was a prison. I'd be like, "Oh, you just walk into people's rooms, do you?" And I start throwing stuff at them. "Get out of my room!" It was just amazing. It was so much fun. Brian, what are you working on now? I mean, obviously, you've had these years of success with MTV. I saw, actually, I don't want to go without mentioning Hit Record, because Joseph Gordon-Levitt is one of my heroes just for opening up that. Yeah. And I noticed that on your IMDb, and I as you know, the sort of self-promoting weirdo I am as a podcast, I joined it thinking I could promote my podcast on there, but I didn't. What I ended up doing is doing voiceovers and sending people audio and stuff to use on their projects. An amazing thing. How did you get involved with Hit Record?
Joe and I happened to be at the same agency, and Joe was thinking about making this into a TV show. And so they set him up with like 15 different producers, but we just hit it off. And I thought he was one of the smartest, deepest people I've ever met. And I keep having to remind myself that he's 15 years or 20 years younger than me, because he's just that wise. But then he reminds me he's had as many years experience in the business, because he started when he was 5.
Kid, yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it. And he really believes that we're all our best selves if we express, if we create, and that it's a collaborative thing. And so he's got a sense of like mission and purpose that is way beyond commercial success. So I just love the guy. And we won an Emmy this year for a show we did called Create Together, where people could make stories about their COVID experience. So it was really very moving.
He's a fantastic guy. And if you don't know what Hit Record is basically a website or a collective of people that are all creators. There are artists, there are poets, there are music creators, there are voiceover actors. And what Joe does is every day almost, he'll come up with projects that people can sort of collaborate with, and they've made some amazing things. So if you want to express your creative side, literally Google Hit Record. There is an app you can download on your phone, and you can just take part in the fun. It's fun. It really is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt sells a little better than you do, but yeah, I feel it. Yeah, I should check it out.
So yeah, back to the question. What are you working on now, Brian? Sorry. Are you working on anything at the moment?
Yeah, we're working on a lot of stuff. This was a big development year because nobody could produce shit. So we have probably 15 projects at different networks that we're currently getting the presentation together, that kind of thing. Yeah, so all sorts of things. And we've got multiple series in production. Yeah, all good.
You feel like there's just like this floodgate of content that's just being ready to just gush over as soon as all this is over with. Like everybody seems to be in development right now and everybody has all these plans, but now everything's at this huge standstill. So do you think eventually the wall is just going to come down, just boom, everything's going to come at us all at once?
That's a great question. Part of what this pandemic did is move everybody away from cable to streaming services at a rate that was probably 3 years ahead of what anybody thought. And so I think it's actually going to be a completely different landscape. And as opposed to having like 50 decision makers at different networks, you're going to have 4 or 5. So I don't know how that will change things, but it will.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this a while at the beginning of the pandemic. We were speaking to Jackie Jordan from TV Execs. She's an amazing person. She's awesome. And we were talking about sort of TV and how it's going to be affected by the pandemic and stuff. And I was like, you're going to have this backlog of like, no, there's going to be a year. First of all, there's going to be a year of like nothing. But what that will do is give a lot of indie creators a license to go out and create things. So we're going to see some new great things. But then at the same time, we're going to get a year or a couple of years. Like Disney have just done that. They've just gone with all this content that they've just got ready for us. That they probably had it for a while, but they couldn't release it during a pandemic or couldn't add to it in a pandemic. But now we're going to get, just like Tom said, just all this content. And are you still at MTV or have you stepped away for a bit now, or what's?
I stepped away a few years back and formed my own company because I wanted to see if I could do it independently because there's different rewards with that. And just you get to work on, I've been working on stuff for 19-year-old boys and girls for a long time. And I wanted to do some things that were for people of all ages as your interests change. So now I have my own company and we've done 24 shows so far. And our last big hit was Instant Influencer this past year, which has people compete to learn how to be an influencer on YouTube. So it's like reality competition for YouTube, but that has been huge here.
Amazing.
That must be amazing because I bet you've worked with some of the most amazing minds out there because influencing is where it's at now, isn't it? So if you moguls of that sort of industry must be really switched on, you know?
Yeah. It's funny because stars used to like to promote things. Now this generation, if you want them to do one tweet, they're like, "Where's my $10,000? That's what I get from a sponsor." So it's a very different reality.
Wow! One day, Tom, eh? One day.
No.
My other show, The Shrewsbury Biscuits, it's got 1,070 followers on Instagram. It's nothing.
Yeah.
As soon as I hit that 1,000 mark, all I was getting emails was, "We got this watch. All you have to do is you have to pay for the delivery, and you can wear your watch on Instagram, and we'll do this." And then there's another guy with jewelry and this sort of stuff. I'm like, wow, this is a crazy world. 1,000.
If only it was times 1,000, I would be something incredible. I mean, it would be awesome. Good, especially good because like you're doing a community service. That's what I always want you to draw a light on to the Shrewsbury Biscuits. The fact that you're really doing a community service for the people around you, which they kind of rely on. You're like the eyes of the town, which is a beautiful thing.
Somebody came out and called me the voice of Shrewsbury. I was like, oh, that's nice.
That was me. I wrote it in anonymously. I was like, "You are the voice of Shrewsbury."
It's an award-winning show, you know. Anyway, but less about me, more about you. I wanted to talk about you being voted one of the most influential gay men in history. I know it must be embarrassing. And people come to me like, "Oh, you won a mayor's award, didn't you?" That was just me being really silly and comparing that. That is a huge accolade. Where did that come from, Brian?
I think by virtue of fate, the things we do tend to be, including your podcast, are seen by millions of people. Whereas if you're a great accountant or a great welder, your work is not necessarily seen and appreciated by millions of people. So I consider it a byproduct, not of wanting power, but just that we all get to do what we love. That's the great thing, that you can do what you love and end up being considered one of the most powerful gay men in the world.
Which is the most powerful anything in the world. Like I am just, I'm like not any of that jazz. I wish I had a cool title. I think I'm gonna start making up things for myself to make myself feel better. Be like, Tom, your mom said you're the smartest man in the world. Maybe you're that. That's definitely you.
You are by far the best New England you sucker in the whole world.
All right, I like it. I'm gonna put that on my resume. Be like, well, what's this? You suck. Be like, fucking right. Best in New England.
I was going to think of. I had a question, a really good question, and it's gone out of my head. It's gone.
That's
It's gone
okay. We're running short on time, anyways, my friend.
Would you like to give people a sort of plug? I mean, huge TV executive. Would you like to give all 16 of our followers a plug onto what you're working on at the moment and how they can access it, please?
Got it. Like I said, a lot of our shows were down this year. They're all coming back this year, and the next one that'll be up is another instant influencers around dance, around food, like a whole bunch of shows that are competitions to be the next influencer in those realms. And we have a lot of stuff going, but that's probably what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, the world is changing. It seems like you're adapting quite well. You know, there's a lot of we've seen some funny things, especially us podcasters. You know, we've seen people that are usually on dapper suits, talk shows, sat there with a blue Yeti trying to do their talk shows over Zoom or whatever, creating terrible audio. And we also, as podcasters, we had the power. We were like, whoa, that's terrible. Like, Noah, sort that out. You're on the biggest talk show. Times are changing, and you seem to be adapting, and I don't feel like you're ever going to stop. And I just feel like we are actually now on this podcast speaking to a man of greatness. So thank you so much for coming on our show. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys. Tremendous fun. I really appreciate it.
And if Matt Stowe and Trey Parker want to come on our show, just give them a shout out.
Yeah,
we're fun guys, and
desperate plea for attention, please.
Please send us some.
For the love of God.
Yeah. Lee,
sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, Brian, what we tend to do now is we let our guests go, and we sort of finish off the last half an hour. We're just going to geek out about Disney stuff, to be honest, with the stuff that's been released. But Brian Graden, thank you so much for coming on our show. Ladies and gentlemen, great.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Whew. Wow.
Do you think I rambled?
No, you're fine. I think that you were very, very charming. I think that I sat there and dwelled on the fact I could not spit out. How do you have such a keen eye for fucking finding the abnormal and putting on television and making such a huge success? I couldn't spit that out, Alex. I tried like 4 different times and I just started screaming at him. I was like, how do you do things good?
I saw you dying in one of the questions, and I was kind of like, I don't know how to fix this. I was trying not to die, but I was kind of I didn't want to.
Thanks, Alex. You're really not Rose on the Titanic right now. You're just like, I'm just gonna let him die. Fuck it. I'm Cal. I'm the women and children first on the lifeboats.
That was great. Thank you, Brian, for joining the show. I really enjoyed that because
yes.
when you think about TV and you think about movies, things like this, people always go for the stars, and I'm not saying Brian isn't a star, but they go for the actors and the faces of the net. You don't go to the people that have put the time in to create the show, the executives and what have you, because it sounds to me like Brian and his team have actually just been working this giant Rubik's Cube of TV for the last few years, and they've just been lucky to have had a few hits,
I think it's very interesting that I enjoy more speaking to these type of guys, like the guys that really have had their hands in the blueprints of all this amazing stuff that we've grown up watching, and not so much the people that just kind of acted in it or the people that might have had a part in it. It's really, we've been very fortunate, Alex, that we get to talk to these people that really have changed the world as we know it, at least in pop culture. And we just keep on, getting dropped on with this. Like, once again, that was probably the most famous person that we've ever spoken to ever about anything. Like, we've spoken to a lot of famous people at this point. And it's so funny to think that just you and me, man, like, remember that day when we just started a podcast? Mamba, remember that day with Stormtroopers? When you and me, like, when you asked me to come on a podcast, man, you're like, hey, Tom, do you want to be a podcaster? And I was like, I don't know what that is. I know what it is, but I don't know what that means. And you're like, I want you to come and talk with me on the air. I'm like, all right, fine. And that like silly little thing became this amazing network, this amazing opportunity for you and me to speak to anybody and everybody we want to. And we get fucking blessed, man. I don't like that term, but it's the only one that fits the description of what we are accomplishing right now, dude. We are blessed to be able to talk to people like Brian and Darren and Mark and Ralph and Andy and fucking Charlie and fucking everybody, dude. Good on us. Let's blow each other.
I do feel like we were in the presence of greatness there, though. With Brian, he's such a charming guy.
He was. That was a really weird blowjob he just gave me. I don't know if I liked it. Like, I mean, I liked it. Like, it felt great, but I mean,
it was quick. So it's obviously must have been good.
That was my fault. That was my fault. I'm sorry. I came. You know, my
beard bristles did it for me. No, look. I did mention. I was talking about our sort of history with Jason Almay the other night. I went on to Shit Happens When Party Naked podcast. And
you cheated on me. I saw that.
You cheated on me first.
I know. I was going to say that.
Tell me about the show you went on.
I got invited by Andy, our friend to the network, Mr.
Andy Imhoff.
Andy Imhoff, fucking God, he's such a beautiful man. He like, I normally try to like stay away from like last minute requests because I don't like feeling rushed about things. But Andy, I always feel like he has his hand on the reins with the type of stuff that he's involved with.
Oh yeah, he does.
He does. So when he invites me on something, I'm like, all right, so you probably know what you're doing. This is not just gonna be a clusterfuck. And he asked me, he was like, Tom, do you want to come on this trivia show? And I was like, fuck yes, I love trivia. And I feel like they really regretted it really fast. One, I had to be a good boy. I couldn't swear. Like they said it up front, you know, try not to swear. And I was like, ooh, I don't know why you invited me on the show then. Like, I have the worst mouth ever. And I say horrendous things. And but it was a great time. I kept my mouth shut and I ended up winning. I represented USUK in a light that, you know, lets people know that we are fucking amazing.
Yeah, you were very charming. You gave me a nice
Thank
shout.
you.
So I did watch it. It was very nice. And
I did.
You whooped their asses, man. That was great.
I totally did. And I played the game because they were kind of hoping that I was going to because if you answer the questions wrong, at one point you got points taken away. And they're like, Tom, do you want to answer? I was like, nope, I'm very firmly in the lead. I don't feel like losing any points and letting these schmucks come back and bite me in the ass. No, thank you.
It's nice though, isn't it, to go out on different people's shows? And I always encourage our USUKers to do that because, like, you know, it's about telling another fan base about what we do. And shit happens when we party naked. Jason is like, he's one of our closest friends, him and Andy Imhoff. Jason has for the last 2 years sent me Christmas cards and postcards and stickers and stuff. He sent me some before I moved out, but I'd never actually been on his show because time zones. He could never record until the baby's down, and that's like 7 o'clock his time, which is like 2 o'clock my time.
Yeah. Is it? No, it's like midnight your time.
Midnight, yeah. It was 1 o'clock in the morning when I did it.
What did you guys talk about? Did you talk about me?
We talked about drugs, murder, and figure skating.
What?
A little bit about you. Yeah, we did talk about how we met and the magic orange microphone.
Was it the figure skating or the drugs that brought me in the conversation?
Oh, that was strong. Oh, put a lot of rum in that. I'm drinking, by the way. I've had a terrible day. I'll talk about that in a second. We were talking about I, Tonya. He was telling me I didn't know anything about I, Tonya, who this was. Apparently, it's a big American thing.
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie's in it, yeah. But there's the figure skater. Apparently, well known in America. The story of the thing. I was like, I don't fucking know. This figure skater.
Really? You don't? Why? You've never seen that video of her like getting her Nancy Kerrigan getting her fucking leg bastion? And
did they record it? Actually, record it in real life?
Yeah. Well, it was the Olympics, man. Like they had like cameras on this girl, and she's like going. I think she's either leaving a match or she's going to a match. And all of a sudden, this guy like walks up with a pipe and bashes her in the fucking shin, and she goes down the ground going, "Why? It's pretty harrowing and sad when you watch it because you're like, this whole world's life is crashing before to no fault of her own. Like if you were to fall on the ice, you can accept that, right? You're a figure skater, you fell, it was an accident, but it was the hazard of doing the job that you chose to do. When some guy with a ski mask walks in and bashes you in the fucking leg, how are you supposed to prepare for that?
I know, man. Apparently it didn't work either. She went on to win medals and stuff. Yeah, that's what we talked about. I don't know, apparently so.
Who fucking cares? Fuck that bitch.
But like, it's one of those things I didn't know about as a Brit. So we were talking about that and sort of drugs. We were talking about how we should do Spice one day and come on the show and just be like,
like time? Like oregano?
Spice?
What do you-
No, is it as in like fucking whatever that zombie drug that people take?
Oh yeah, like bath salts and shit, right?
Yeah. See people rolling around on a flatbed truck, just fucking.
See, I don't like that, man. I like my drugs to be a little more natural than that. Like everything that we make seems to be kind of fuckery, with the exception of LSD, the most amazing drug in the world. Kids, go out there and try some LSD. You will thank yourselves.
Don't try
afterwards.
LSD. Yeah, there's Uncle Alex, and Aunt Tom.
On Tom. Why am I the odd?
By the way, I feel really bad that I asked Brian about him winning the most
Why?
influential gay man in history, and then not congratulating him afterwards. I wanted to say like,
yeah,
no, actually, it's a huge deal, and it does mean a lot to me that he's gone out for gay men through for the 90s was a huge journey for people, you know. So to go out there and do what he did. It's actually massive. It's huge, and you know, I'm a big advocate for gay pride, genuinely, not just
fuck
not
yes,
just shits and giggles. Yeah.
You're not a virtue signaler. You're not a guy that gets his accolades off of being like, yeah, the gays rock. You actually, like myself, truly believe that, dude. Fucking the gays do rock. They are some of the greatest people I've ever met in my life. And I'm glad and, you know, kind of, you know, not really, what's the word? I'm glad I'm kind of, I want to say blessed, but I hate using that fucking word. What's the word what's the word I'm looking for? I started taking rips of the pipe after Brian left. So now I'm all confused again. I'm very glad that I got, yes, I'm well versed. I'm well versed. Yes. Maybe. Anyways,
he's had a lot of cock, guys.
I've had a lot of cock. I've had a lot of gay cock around me. I've had a lot of gay cock around me, and I feel like it's the greatest experience of my life.
Yeah, absolutely. I love you very much. And yeah, we did on that show. I did talk about our relationship and sort of how we met, and the magic orange microphone and all that sort of stuff. Because I do feel like, I mean, we were talking about how I can't come over to your house and have a few beers with you, and that's one of the biggest pains of what we do right now. Is I can't do that. I mean, you cheered me up earlier. I've had a terrible day. Trying to do open studio sessions, and we had a few dropouts, and I've had some terrible shit to deal with during the day. And then we had a scheduling error with our next guest, which is Robert Bruce. It's not his fault. These things happen. He thought it was 7 o'clock US time. It wasn't. It was 7 o'clock UK time. So we've had to reschedule that. It's just been one of those days where I've just been felt trodden. And I had to chase a fucking delivery driver off my fucking doorstep last night. It was what? It was so fucked up, honestly. So me and my wife ordered some Indian food last night. We went to our favorite restaurant, which we go there all the time. Amazing people. The service is good. The food's good. They know who we are. We know who they are, right? So I ordered our food. And what's happened is we live in Copthorne, right? Now, there is a Copthorne Road, and we are not on Copthorne Road. We are off Copthorne Road, right? So this guy's gone to the wrong address.
Copthorne is up near Copthorne Road, but not on Copthorne Road.
It's a place off Copthorne Road. I won't say the actual address because I'll have people like...
Say it one more time. Copthorne. What?
That's
what's
like the thornberries. Yeah.
Yeah, I know the wild thornberries. All right, you're talking my language.
Copthorne, yeah. So
wild thornberries. I love it. You live on Wild Thornberry Street. Awesome.
So the delivery driver rings Kaz, and he's going absolutely fucking nuts down the phone. Oh, I've been stood outside your house for 10 minutes or something. And she's like, where are you? And he said, I'm in Copthorne Road. And she's like, no, that's not the address I gave you. I gave you such and such address. And he's like, no, you get. She's like, we are right. This is the address we're at. Come out here now. And so he does. And he's really shitty with her down the phone. I answer the door when he gets here, and he's waving the receipt in my face, and he's going, look, that's the address I've got. And I was like, well, that's not the address he gave you, is it? And he goes, well, I've been waiting out there like 10 minutes. And I was like, well, that's your problem then, isn't it? And I listen, right, guys, I'm going to tell you something right now. I am an easygoing guy. I get on with everybody. I'm calm. I work with some very influential people. I work with young people that can fly off the handle. You've got to kind of know how to keep your cool. And I do, right? I'm a very friendly person. But what this guy said to me next really fucking enraged me. He goes, don't you fucking order from me again. Otherwise, I'm going to spit in your food.
Wow. Like, I the balls he has to say this to you is just beyond me, because the way that he gets paid is all dependent on you ordering food, not just you personally. He's not like Alex Whiteley's personal fucking food getter, but like word of mouth is a true thing in the digital age where we can score and rate people. I can't believe he would take such a risk.
Yeah, and he was nothing to do with the restaurant, by the way. He was just a delivery driver, some scatty-looking motherfucker who drives around in a shitty fucking Vauxhall Corsa O2 plate or whatever it was, and gets by on this thing, which is great. And if you do those kind of jobs, fair dues, but don't do it and threaten to spit in people's food, because then what you get is you get an angry, bearded, pissed off Alex Whiteley chasing you off your doorstep, telling you not to come back on you. Don't ever come here again, or I'll beat the fucking shit out of you. I don't even know what I said. I don't know what I did, but I chased him to his car.
Went red. You saw white and just fucking wake up and there's blood and curry all over your hands.
And it's very rare I get like that. I don't get like that very often. I really don't. But he threatened to spit on my food, and after the shit he gave my wife as well on the phone. You just don't do that when you're in the service industry, right?
How fucking great would it have been if he would have called then afterwards and he'd be like, all right, I'm on Copthorne Road, and you're like, oh no, I said Copthorne Road. You got to come back to the first place you were at. What happened?
Did you give my food to somebody else? Yeah.
Oh my god, it's amazing. Remember, was ordering pizzas to people's houses a thing over there? Was that like a child?
I know people that did it, but it was not something I did. I've never.
No,
we used to when I was in the cadets, right? When we used to because we used to sleep in billets, right? So it's like 12.
What's a billet?
A billet is like sort of like 15 beds to a room, sort of thing. Bed.
Oh, okay. Right. Gotcha.
So we all used to crowd around and we used to grab someone's phone and do like prank phone calls and stuff. Hi there, you ordered the Vibrex 3000s. We want to let you know that your card has declined. Things like that, we used to do stuff like that. But ordering pizzas, I always think it's a bit. I've never done it, but yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I was eating before we started this. Okay, so did I ever tell you about the time that I got the cops calling me for making a prank phone call?
Did you? Were you a naughty boy, Tom? Were you a naughty boy?
I was very naughty boy growing up. So me and my best friend Damian Harshberger, we were making prank phone calls and we were doing like the normal things, be like, oh, is your refrigerator running? Better go catch it, blah blah, that type of like useless nonsense. But one time I had this bright idea to fake like me and my buddy were getting in a domestic dispute and we were like an old couple and stuff, and we really sold it. She was like, hello, can I get a number? And he's like, who are you talking to? No one, Frank, you cheating whore. And all of a sudden we started like bashing pans together and stuff and like making a big ruckus, and we hung up. We're like, ha 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 ha. And then the cops showed up. Apparently they traced the phone call because domestic dispute is a bad thing, and they were really concerned that some old lady was getting shit kicked out of her by a fucking dude for her trying to order some Chinese food or something. It was pretty amazing. But definitely don't do that, kids. Don't.
This is a thing that people didn't realize what would happen when you give like, I don't know, 13, 14, 15-year-olds mobile phones. What the damage you could cause. Like, prank phone calls were just the best, especially when you worked out to withhold your number.
It must be the fact that it's so traceable that doesn't happen more. You'd assume that with everybody having access to phones, there'd be more prank phone calls going on.
I think we should have a new segment on the show where we just prank. They used to do a thing on Scott Mills, which is a radio, BBC Radio 1. Scott Mills is like one of the main hosts, and he has been for years. And he used to do this thing where if you're like an ex-boyfriend or something that pissed you off, he'd ring them up and speak to them as to why they acted the way they did, or they would ring celebrities and things. But I think what happened is Russell Brand, he rang did you ever watch, do you know Faulty Towers?
I've heard you say Faulty Towers before.
Yeah.
But I'm taking Russell Brand was in it or something.
Well, one of the old guys, I didn't watch Faulty Towers, but one of the old guys, very legendary actor, so forgive my ignorance, but his granddaughter, they rang him, and Russell Brand basically threatened to, he said he was going to fuck her and stuff. I don't know, there was some sort of shit that was going on, and it went crazy. Like, it was bad. He got fired and all of this sort of stuff. So they had to kind of rein it in a bit. So you have to be careful now.
That's crazy. Alex, I was gonna have like some sort of like fun segue into what I want to talk to next. But I don't have that type of power, and I have to look it up. So have you been paying attention to American politics at all in the last few weeks?
I haven't. I've kind of been stuck in my own little bubble, actually, to be fair. I haven't been watching the news at all.
So I'm going to give you a headline, and it's it scares me. Like, you know how like all the time you always hear other people say like, "Oh, this scares me," and you know that type of jazz. I'm always like, no, they don't want to do that, blah blah. But there's a headline in the news that really scared me. A Texas rep wants to secede from the union.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned this to me earlier, you did, and I was kind of like, okay. And I saw someone on Facebook where they want to overturn some votes and stuff, and
Yeah.
I don't know, they're not happy with the election results.
They're
I think,
not, and I don't know what I don't know if it's like the unwillingness. Here's the problem. I don't know if it's the unwillingness to turn their backs on Trump. I don't know if it's because they liked him as much as they did. I don't know if it's because maybe there was some fuckery we just don't know about. And like these guys do. I don't pay a lot of attention to politics because it makes me really sad. Um, but it scares me because the United States of America is what we are, and I understand that that Texas is a republic. Like it's the only republic left in America, if I'm not mistaken. If any listeners are listening to this and they're like, "Oh, that's not true at all, Tom. There's so and so republic," but I think that Texas is the only republic, which I don't even know what that means. Like, I don't know what the difference between them being a republic and a state is or whatever, but it's already like this tiny bit of separation because every other body of land in America is a state. Like even Hawaii, it's a state. So like we're all states, and that's what we call ourselves, except Texas. And now they're talking about doing like a Civil War style fucking split and making themselves different, having their own government and shit. It's fucking weird to me.
Okay, I'm going to say something probably controversial. And if we do have, I know actually we do have listeners in Texas. So please don't stop listening to us because I'm going to say this comment. But if this is the case, and there are so many batshit crazy Trump fans that are really butthurt about the results, would you miss them if they were to be like, we are our own country now?
Kind of only because like I feel like you need those type of people too. Like I love America because it's the melting pot, man.
Oh,
It's
that's
like
nice.
everybody from all walks of life, and that's what I love about our show is that there's so many different people on this fucking in this country that make in the world, in your mind case, but so many people in this country that are different that add bits and pieces to your life just from where they are and their experiences, and it kind of adds to yours once you meet them. I don't want that taken away, and I don't want that to change. I don't think it's a smart thing to do to tell the rest of the world that, oh, we're so divided that we have to fucking literally split up our land like it's a 1970s sitcom and we're mad at each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I asked that question not as a cunt. Sorry, I said C word.
No. It's funny.
But first of all, it's not even to be funny. It's as a journalist, as somebody that's trying to explore what's going on. For me, it sounds like there's a bunch of people that are really upset and willing to rip apart a country because they're not happy with the result, right? So that question is not asked as in any way disrespect of America, and I appreciate that actually, because when people from over here think about America, Texas is one of the great states, right? It's one of those.
Yeah.
Texas is the cowboy country, right? That's where you go to get your buffalo steak. It's probably not right, but that's what I think of Texas. I think of cowboy hats and buffalo steak. Yeah, it's
the first girls I ever met from the UK when I was in Jamaica. That's what they thought about America too. Like they thought all of America was like that. They're like, it's all Texas. I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? It's not all Texas. Like the place I'm from looks nothing like Texas, but Texas is huge and it's a big fucking hunk of land that's in America. It's the biggest state. Once again, like it's not. It just scares me a little bit because like it didn't work out very well the last time that this type of thing was talked about. And the fact is we're so tense right now that it wouldn't take long for us to start going to war with each other.
I think this is all noise. I think a lot of what's happened is by the Trump supporters is noise, and it has been since Trump was elected. Let's be honest. They said that this is going to be the dawn of a new age, and things are going to get overturned, and all this sort of shit.
Dawn of Aquarius, the dawn of Aquarius.
But like, no, I don't. No, I don't think you guys got anything to worry about. Yes, I know it's scary. I know it really is when you think about these things. But we were dealing with the same similar. I guess it's similar on something with Brexit. Is like, the people were very, very divided and still are actually when it comes to Brexit. Thinking about sort of like there were people that were very for it, very against it, and it was very close. It was very close, and it seemed to be the older generation that voted for Brexit. And you're thinking, well, they'll be dead in 10 minutes. We're the ones that's going to have to clean up the mess. Like,
For the future, you fucking corpse, step out the way.
yeah. So it was one of them that's. But the comments on Facebook and the arguments get very volatile very quickly, as I imagine they are doing in America. All I can say is, have we got time for this? Because this show is going to be released a week before the Robert Bruce show. Can we do Disney in 10 minutes?
Yes, let's do a really quick version of Disney and let's get out of here. We're gonna record our second episode of the day at 8:00, so that's in an hour and a half. With the rest of Robert the Bruce, and that's gonna be a Christmas release. It's a Christmas present to you guys, right? Oh, really quickly, I was shoveling today for my neighbors, part of USUK Cares. Remember that we are doing USUK Cares right now, guys. Go out there and do some volunteer work. Mr. Ryan Williams sent a beautiful picture of him doing some work at his local food bank. Mr. Alex Whiteley has taken evidence of himself being somewhere around a charity, not necessarily doing it, but he was around it. No, he was out there. He was out there doing the real work, doing the Lord's work, and being a good man that you are. I was shoveling for my neighbors. I did not make a big deal about it, but I'm still going to do something. So make sure, guys, you go out before the end of the month and do something. And hashtag USUK Cares and show us that we're trying to make, that we're making an impact across the Atlantic, across the globe, as far as we can. We want to extend USUK Cares. Go and do a nice thing for somebody. Go do to some charity. Go to a food bank. Go to a blood drive. Go donate some sperm. I don't know what you have to do, but do something. God damn it.
Amazing. Yes, thank you, Ryan, for doing that. Thank you for doing that as well. I wrote that down as one of the things we were going to talk about. So, yes, let's do this very quickly. Can you see my screen right now? Can you see that? I've pulled
I can definitely see your screen right now. It's so big.
Where are we going first? Marvel or Star Wars? I'm a Marvel.
Let's go with Marvel since it's up.
Okay, so up right now is it says here Marvel news from Disney Investor Day 2020. So this is number 10. This is everything that they've released. So that's one word answers. Okay, one word answers for every single title that we can go balls deep into this properly soon. We can do it on a live show. Actually, that'd be a good idea. But yeah, Moon Knight.
Yes.
Fuck yes. It's Marvel's Batman. Let's fucking do this shit. Secret Invasion with.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds awesome.
It's about Nick Fury apparently, and the Krulls. It's about
awesome. Love it. Let's watch it.
Ironheart.
Sounds like a porno.
It's female Iron Man, so yes, absolutely.
Really? Is it
Riri Williams? You know the comic book.
Oh yeah! All right, I'm in. Let's watch it.
Armor Wars with
that like battle bots.
It's going to be about War Machine. What's the name? War
Machine. Yeah, you had it right. War Machine. Yeah. All right, I'm in. Let's watch it.
Right, this one makes me nervous. The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
Why? Did you see the Lego Holiday Special yet?
No, I haven't. No,
dude, the fucking Star Wars Lego Holiday Special is one of the greatest things I've accidentally
I like the Lego games,
ever.
But the Lego movies and things. I like the two Lego movies, but
it's on Disney Plus right now. Go and watch the Lego Holiday Special for Star Wars. It is so great, and it's Lego silly, but it plays out the greatest hits of Star Wars. Fuck, it's great. It's got like a Christmas Carol type of feel to it. Go and definitely watch that right now. So I'm excited for this holiday special. Disney does it right, man.
Yes, absolutely. I Am Groot. This is going to be a baby Groot kids TV series. Yeah.
Let's watch it.
Thor, Love Thunder, which is going to have Christian Bale as a bad guy.
I know. I can't fucking wait to. I saw that picture. I was like, yes, Christian Bale. I want him back.
Yeah, I'm going to say there's no limit to the amount of win when you get Christian Bale as a bad guy. Blade.
Yes, fuck yes. Fuck yes.
Together.
Fuck
Give me
yes.
that. Oh, put it in my veins. Quantum Mania, which is going to be the Ant-Man and the Wasp 3.
Ooh, is that what that is?
Yes, Quantum Mania.
All right. I'm fucking definitely in for that.
Black Panther 2.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
I saw like this tweet or this message about it that they're doing the right thing and they're looking more into the other people that are the survivors of Chadwick Boseman and stuff like that in the movie. So I'm excited to see that. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I think so too. Fantastic Four reboot.
Fuck yes.
Yes, I think are the rumors true? We're going to get John Krasinski as that's fantastic. I don't know. One Division looks weird for me, man. That's a maybe for me.
Dude, we're gonna watch it. We're gonna at least check it out.
Course, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna watch it. Don't even lie.
This is that link to Spider-Man 3 that everybody's talking about, and that's Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, this is exciting. I once again, oh fuck. Yes.
The cast on that, you're gonna get all 3 Spider-Men. You're gonna get Gwen Stacy. You're gonna get
Doc Ock.
Doc Ock, yeah, that looks amazing. There's already been a trailer released for it, and that's the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Fuck yes.
Black Widow.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. Yeah.
Herpes in a fucking jumpsuit. Loki. Have you seen the trailer for Loki?
No, but fuck yes. I want to watch more Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah. That looks good. What if it's going to be an animated series about the multiverse and stuff? Yeah.
Not as excited
Watcher,
that it's the what if. I always thought it's like the stories of that they couldn't tell in Marvel because they didn't want to do that necessarily with their main characters. I liked What If. There was a lot of cool ones. Like what if the Fantastic Four what if like the Thing fought the Hulk and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I'm in. I once again they're killing it, dude. So yeah, I'm in. I'll watch it.
There's a trailer for that as well. And the Watcher is narrating, so he's got the Watcher, which is crazy because they were convinced that Stan Lee was the Watcher, weren't they? But obviously not. Then there is Shang-Chi.
I mean, I didn't really read Shang-Chi, but who am I kidding? I'm gonna watch it. It's gonna be great. Ant-Man was great. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Miss Marvel. I'm really excited about Miss Marvel.
I am excited that they're bringing Miss Marvel back. So fuck yes.
Captain Marvel 2.
Didn't they say something about what's her face not being in it?
Brie Larson. She's coming back.
Yeah.
She's coming back.
Okay, all right, whatever.
Eternals. I'm really excited for the Eternals.
Keanu Reeves. Yeah, let's watch it.
Hawkeye.
Man.
That's up there with Black Widow. I'm kind of like, yeah, okay. She-Hulk.
Yes. Who is it?
With Hulk himself. What's his name? Fucking who plays Hulk? What's his name? Fucking
it's fucking
Bruce Banner. What's his fucking name?
It is Bruce Banner. Mark Ruffalo.
There you go, Mark Ruffalo. You know when you think of something too hard, it just disappears.
So, like, I'm guessing they're still continuing the joke of, we can't really show the Hulk. I give the Hulk a movie, so it's She-Hulk.
Yeah. Can you see my screen now? Can you see the next ones?
Oh, I can see that. What is it?
Okay, now we're moving on to Star Wars. Again, say one-word answers. Rangers of the New Republic.
Yes.
I'm gonna say yeah. The Bad Batch.
Yes.
Don't know enough about it, so
no.
Yes.
But once again, Star Wars. They've shown us, and I guarantee Jon Favreau is going to end up doing what what's his face does over at Marvel. Foggy. He's going to do the same thing. He's going to be the overseer because they're like, fuck. If as long as he has an eye on it, it'll be okay. So yeah, I'll give it a chance.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hell's yes, and there's so many rumors that Hayden Christensen is coming back.
He's confirmed.
Is
back. He? Yes, he's back. I'm so happy for more for Eric Fluger because he was like, yes, that guy. He backwards engineered his voice. He's a genius, and he called it, man. And he's the one that made me realize that Hayden Christensen's actually not that bad. He's not that bad at all. Like, so I don't know. Ashoka.
Oh yeah, that'll be fine. And hopefully there's more. Oh, that's gonna be good. Yes.
Rosario Dawson was just amazing, wasn't she? So give her Andor. This is going to be obviously a prequel to Rogue One. It can't be a sequel, obviously.
Yep.
There's a fucking char grill.
He's dead. Yep. He's dead.
Lando.
Yeah, fuck yeah. He's gonna sell us some cool drinks while he's doing it.
Is that going to be Thingy playing it again then? So what's his name?
I doubt it. It's going to be, you're talking about the guy from fucking
Solo.
Solo. Yeah. What's his face? Donald Glover.
There you go. We're getting some big names tonight.
Yeah, we really are, dude. Like we are at the end and we still have to do this again.
Brian Graden's going to listen back to his guys. You fucking these guys. I don't know shit. Star Wars. We got 2 minutes. Star Wars Visions.
Yes.
Amazing. Rogue Squadron.
Fuck yeah. Yeah. I hope Porkins better be in it.
I can't wait for this because what that woman did with Wonder Woman, she's an amazing director anyway.
Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins.
Yes, she's directing that. Amazing.
Ooh.
That's a movie. That is apparently. Is that a movie? Or
Oh, is it? All right, fucking A, man.
So it's going to be a Top Gun with fucking X-wings. There you go.
Yeah.
Star Wars: The Acolyte. I don't know what that is about.
It looks like it's a lightsaber slash that's gone through there, so I'm guessing it's about like a Sith. I bet you they're gonna do like the Force Unleashed type of story where it's like the Sith point of view of the Padawan.
You know what this is? You know we were talking about Alan Rickman's diaries. This is Kylo Ren's diaries. They wouldn't let me go out to play, so I murdered my PC. I hit it with my lightsaber. I cut it into 12 pieces. Like
That is the worst Adam Driver I've ever heard in my life.
I
I'm
hate
so
my
disappointed.
fucking dad. You see him, shoot him.
All right, you sold me. I'm back on.
I don't know what that's a lie, by the way. I don't know what it's about. A droid story. Is this going to be?
I'm
gay
so
romance?
interested in this. Yeah, probably. I'm so interested in this. What the fuck is this? It's probably about the sex robots. Like all the times they took their lightsabers and fucked us.
Well, I quite like the droid from Rogue One. What's it called? The one that's done by Alan Tudyk.
K whatever. the fuck his name
KSO
is.
K
Yeah, K is yeah.
something like that. He's so sassy. I love that.
He was the K-est robot in the mix.
I love that. There's so much coming, and I do worry. I think somebody brought it up that there's probably going to be a bit of a fatigue when it comes to Marvel and Star Wars after a bit. But
nope.
I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Give it to
Give
me.
it
Put in
all.
my veins.
Yes.
Right.
All right.
This has been a fantastic show. I want to say thank
Yes,
you
it is.
to Brian Graden for coming on our show, for being gracious enough to come on our show. This guy is a huge deal, like you would never believe. So thank you for coming on our show. It pays off to cruise the internet at 3:00 in the morning, right?
I love that you got this by cruising the most. What brought you on? You're like, I'm cruising for the most influential gay men on the internet right now.
Amazing, influential guy as well. I want to give a shout out to Pete White and the guys from Web Orchard who are currently working on a website for us. If you want a website, whether you're in the US or the UK, check out Web Orchard. They will sort you out a website that looks as cool as anything you could imagine. I was going to say go to the Shoes with Biscuit podcast, and look at my website. But no, don't do that. Just imagine a cool website and do that.
Yeah,
you can go to my website if you want to. Oh, shut the fuck up, Alex.
Shut the fuck up, Alex.
Hashtag USUK cares. Tom has mentioned it before. Go out, do something good in the community. Tom, send us out.
Hey guys, this has been a great experience. I love this so much. Fucking this has been What's the Difference podcast. I am Tom Bruno.
And I'm Alex Whiteley.
And we fucking love you. Good night.
Peace out, baby.